Hello, hello. How y'all doing?
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, Timmy.
Monica, do you want host privileges?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can still share my screen without it, but yeah, if you want to do that, that would be cool.
Okay, I'll make you the co-host. I just posted another event reminder on our internal page, so might give it a few minutes before you want to get started, but
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a couple minutes. So, hey, Lila. Hopefully, I see you soon. Hello, Daphne.
Hi,
Glad to have you here.
thank you. Sorry, I was just on the phone.
No worries. We're gonna hang out for just a couple minutes to let people log on and get situated. Jen Allen.
I've been hearing about this class, and I need to do it.
Oh, what have you heard?
That it's a requirement. Everyone should do this class. So we're the lucky chosen ones who paid attention to the schedule today.
Oh,
Thank you for hosting it.
of course. Yeah, this is actually our second class. We did the first one in May. And we made just a couple slight adjustments and added some additional content for this one. And ideally, we'd like to keep hosting it so that more folks, can check it out, or if they miss it one time, yeah. So cool. Glad to have you here, Daphne.
Thank you.
So Jen Allen, are you just going to leave your name there as Emma?
I don't know how this happened. I don't even know. This may have been happening for a while now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're Emma Locke.
Is Emma somebody else in your family?
It's my girlfriend.
Oh.
So I'm just going to be her for today in her absence.
Cool. So we'll give it a couple more minutes. How's everyone's day going so far?
It's going.
It's a little too humid for me personally, but I'm not going to complain that much.
feels like a lay in bed all day kind of day.
Yeah, definitely feels like that.
Or make phone calls in your pajamas, right? I got changed though.
Great. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Monica, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. For everyone else, I'm from Denver. I am in the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion chair of my market center in Denver, and saw Gavin's post, so wanted to pop in. So I'd love to bring something like this to my market center. So thanks for having me.
Of course, we're glad that you're here. Let me know afterwards. I'll shoot you my email in the chat if you want. If you want like any slides or anything like that, or any ideas from afterwards. Happy to share those. Spread the ZE and I love.
That'd be awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Elena's here. Cool. Think we should get started. Gavin, Leah. Hey, Lila. I don't think she heard me. Hi, Lila.
Hi, sorry, I'm in my office and this woman, of course, walked in, a client. So I was like, oh, talk about bad timing. Sorry.
No worries. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, I think this meeting is being recorded, but we do not have to share this meeting with anyone or any other market centers. So please know that this is a safe space. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop those in the chat. Leah will be monitoring the chat. We also will have a Q&A at the end. Yeah, so that's just kind of a little bit of etiquette. To kick things off, my name is Monica Kramer. I'm the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force at the Market Center at Keller Williams, Philadelphia. My pronouns are they, them, and they are also in my Zoom name. So if you use pronouns and you're comfortable sharing, feel free to add yours into your signature if you want to. Otherwise, looking forward to the Q&A at the end. What else can I say? So DE&I Task Force, I'm assuming pretty much everyone here has heard of DE&I, but if not, it stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And basically, we are a group of committed folks who are passionate about bringing change, best practices to not only our market center, but to Keller Williams and beyond, within the realms of racial, social, sexual, and gender diversity. So we really try to highlight a lot of our marginalized voices in the community. To be a part of the DE&I committee, you do not have to be a person of color, a member of the LGBTQ plus community. You can just show up as yourself. And that's really the importance of DE&I work. We want everyone in our market center, colleagues, agents, whoever, to be able to show up, to be their true selves without any fear, whether that be related to any of those realms that I mentioned. And DEI work really helps create and promote that awareness and understanding and empathy across, different backgrounds, nationalities, races, sexual orientations. And so that's why the work is super important. We really just want you to show up as your most authentic self and feel good about it on a daily basis. So that's the DE&I work. And I think we were actually the first DE&I task force in the whole Keller Williams KWRI. So they're about 2 years now, maybe a little over 2 years. So yeah, that's a little bit about DE&I work. I introduced myself, my pronouns. I would love to kind of take a couple minutes now to if anyone wants to introduce themselves, feel free to go ahead. Leah, I'm going to hand it over to you since you're on the committee.
So did you want to mention privately asking questions? Just in case anybody doesn't feel comfortable.
Yes, if you don't want to drop your question in the chat, the public chat, feel free to private message Leah or Gavin. I'll be sharing my screen, so it'll be a little bit harder for me to monitor the questions, but either way, I'll see it at the end. Back to you, Leah.
Is this part of the story?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, introduce yourself,
Oh, I didn't know we were going through the whole thing. Okay, so hi. So my name is Leah Martin. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the director of operations on the DE&I committee. So basically just handling a lot of, support and administrative scheduling stuff. I'm also the director of operations on the Limitless Real Estate team. So I'm their admin. So really excited for everybody to be here today. This is the second one. So we were just, really eager to just get this on the schedule and give everyone the opportunity to grow and learn and just do this together. And whether you're here the first time, second time, and keep on coming, this is always updating and always changing. So we love, the presence here and everybody's, efforts and just becoming a better person. That's really what this is.
Oh, thanks, Leah. Gavin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Gavin Ludovici. I am at Keller Williams, Philadelphia on the condo shop team. My pronouns are any and all, as long as they come from a place of love and respect, except for when I'm in drag, and then I only go by he and him. I've been a part of the DE&I committee now for probably about a year, and really like some of the things that we're accomplishing here at our brokerage and in the region.
Awesome. Thanks, Gavin. Jen.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen. My pronouns are she, her. I'm on the She Moves Philly team with Monica, and I have been a part of this since January when I came on with the brokerage.
Yeah, so glad to have you on board. Daphne.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daphne, and I work with Chris Stevens and Dawn Alvarez on their team at Philadelphia Signature Properties. So I'm still a newish agent. I've been with the brokerage since February, and yeah, and it's kind of where I am. I don't really go by pronouns. I was attracted to this course or this opportunity just because I was talking to Solon a few months ago, and I was just saying how it's kind of hard to read people sometimes. And he was like, well, there are courses out there on language and pronouns and understanding how people talk about themselves and body language. So I was curious to see what kind of information that this particular workshop or opportunity shared.
That's great, Daphne. Thanks so much. We're glad to have you here, and I hope that you find it helpful. And feel free to shoot us any questions too as we go along. May, are you in a place to introduce yourself?
Yes, I just went to the conference room so that I could get away from the crazy, but I'm May Nicoletti. My pronouns are she, her. I am the business center coordinator in Conshohocken, and I do our social media as well as I'm on the education committee and send out all those lovely emails you receive all the time.
You're the best, May. Brandon.
Hey everybody, I'm Brandon Beston from I run the Best in Homes team in Denver, Colorado. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm excited to be here. I'm also, as I mentioned earlier, the chair of the DEI committee at our market center. So thanks for having me.
Super pumped to have you here. Lila.
Hi everyone, I'm Lila Rushton and my pronouns are she, her. I am the sales lead on the condo shop team. Love to help people, and also the chair of the KW Culture Committee. So hi everybody.
Hi, good to have you here. I'm not sure if Dana, Alina, or Sean are here, but if you are, feel free to unmute and introduce yourselves. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. Anyone there? Dana, Alina, or Sean? Or I'm not sure how to say name. Layla?
Hi, Leah's fine.
Oh, Leah.
Just Lee, thanks.
Oh, just Lee. Okay, got it. Great. Well, great to have you all here. Thanks so much for showing up. For those of you that just logged on, this is the DE&I Task Force's How to Be a Better Real Estate Communicator class. I'm going to share my screen in just a second to go over our presentation for the day. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. You can also privately message Gavin or Leah, L-I-A, on the call. We're on the task force together. We'll be able to address your questions at the end. We're having a Q&A. So hope you all find it informative. And let's go ahead and get started. All righty. We good? Everyone can see? Perfect. Okay. So again, here is our class. We are the Keller Williams Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force at the KW Philadelphia Market Center. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Leah to go over, the importance of this discussion, why we're having this class, and the overview of generations and who our clientele is.
So before I begin, I just want to let everybody know that all of the numbers and the information that you're going to see on this slide and the next slide were provided from the National Association of Realtors and all of the statistics that they gathered back in 2020 and 2019. So I'll share both of those links where I got all that information when I'm done speaking. And they're pretty cool. They have a lot of information and that you might actually find useful with clients in a similar way we're using here. So as you already probably started to see, this is the overview of generation. So I'm using this to give you a little bit more of an insight as to who is participating in today's market and, just who exactly is what generation. So you'll see we have 4 categories. It's not all the categories, but it's 4 of the generations that we have that are most prominent in the market today. And so we have Gen X, 2 millennial groups, and 1 Gen Z. So the first number that I like to point out is really fun because it's in one of the millennial groups. So when you hear the word millennial, what do you usually think? Does anybody want to chime in with the word millennial? That's okay if you don't want to. So when we hear the term millennial, oh, Brandon?
Snapchat.
Snapchat, yes. Social media, right? And along with that just comes a whole other level of, these people are not responsible. They're not having families. They're not buying homes, which is the most important part to us, right? A millennial's just some, financially unstable Starbucks craving person. However, according to National Association of Realtors outlines for their generation, because these years do vary depending on where you look, the oldest millennial is 41 years old. So what is a 41-year-old person doing? They probably already have a family, pretty established in their career, probably already bought a house, maybe ready to sell another. But that's the type of person, 41 years old, they're in our price point that we really like to work with, right? So another number that I like to point out that, puts into perspective, that millennials aren't, all those things that I said earlier, is the youngest millennial on this chart is 23 years old. Now that is young. I just want to give you a little something personal about me. I am 25 years old and I just closed on my first home in February. Thank you. I fall into the category of the younger millennial. So, younger millennials, 23 years old to 25 years old, establishing careers, maybe taking those first steps in home ownership, or at least maybe they might become tenants or something, people you can still work with. So I just wanted to, have you keep all that in mind for the next slide. If we can transition. So this slide, again, all these numbers from National Association of Realtors is the share of buyers by generation. So all these pieces of pie show exactly which generation and how much they contributed to the market as home buyers, not sellers, just buyers. So the first thing you'll see is that big whopping 25% on that yellow piece of pie, and that was contributed by older millennials. So, older millennials are the ones we were just discussing, who the oldest one is 41 years old, and they are the ones that are buying the most homes currently in this market. And though it's not the second or third highest, younger millennials are still at 13%, which is still a pretty big percentage in this pie. And so one other thing that I got from those statistics that I thought was interesting was the share of sellers by generation. The first place goes to Gen X, which is the generation just older than older millennials. But the second place goes to older millennials. So older millennials, that generation, they are the number one spot for buyers and the number two spot for the most sellers in this current market. So, we just wanted to give you perspective as, who is working and who are we working with in this market and, how that ties into the ways we communicate with them. And I'm going to hand it over to Gavin.
So to tie into what Leah is saying, the US Census was just completed last year, and the average age of people in the United States is 38.5, which falls well in the older millennial group. And those statistics came from the US Census Bureau and the World Population Review. So you can see that demographic is one of the biggest demographics and one of the biggest demographics buying and selling real estate currently. That's all I got for that.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Gavin. I think that's super important information based on kind of who we interact with as clients and stuff, just as realtors. So we're going to move on. Why are we here today is, again, we're about communication. We're trying to help everyone become better real estate communicators. And part of that discussion is on pronouns, the importance of pronouns, and why has it become such a quote unquote hot topic all of a sudden? It really isn't. It's actually been ongoing for so long now. But it's really important to ask for pronouns. It's not a rude question at all. So we're here to help kind of answer questions, show you how that looks like. you probably have heard everyone pretty much uses pronouns. So you have she, her, hers, he, him, his, and there's also they, them, theirs, in addition to other pronouns that we might not even, have on this slide. So it's important that when we meet new clients, whoever, you don't want to make any assumptions. If you use the wrong pronouns for someone, for example, my pronouns are they, them, and I often get misgendered, meaning that means that someone uses the wrong pronouns for me. I usually get misgendered with she, her pronouns. You just have to, quickly correct yourself, move on, do better for the next time. You're really only using pronouns when you're referring to your client in third person. If I wanted to say like, oh yeah, Leah, Leah's on the D&I task force. She's awesome, right? And so I know that she, her, hers are Leah's pronouns, and that's what I refer to Leah as, whereas someone might refer to me as like, oh, Monica Kramer, oh yeah, they're on the She Moves Philly team. And that's how people would refer to me in third person. When you're talking one-on-one with someone, you're not really using their pronouns, you're just saying like you, right? So just wanted to kind of discuss this up front. It's really important to not assume someone's gender based on their appearance. Same thing with their sexual orientation. Some people think that their pronouns indicate their sexual orientation, and that is not a thing. They are completely separate. It's just because someone's pronouns are she, her, doesn't mean that they are straight, doesn't mean that they are queer. It doesn't indicate anything at all. It just says, hey, here's how you can refer to me. It's a sign of respect. I always try to say, avoid gendered language whenever possible. Gendered language, some examples over here, like dude or ma'am, these are signs of politeness and respect. It's what we were taught as kids, right? Like we were all, growing up, and you went, oh, don't refer to them by their first name. Always say Mr. or Miss or Mrs., right? But you don't always know how someone identifies and what their language, is. So there are different ways, different alternatives to using this language. And I'm going to help you on the next slide to give you some alternatives to gendered terms. So we often hear like, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 like welcome to tonight's dinner. So you can also just say honored guests, distinguished guests instead. There's no gender associated there. There's not anything you mention of a lady, a man, anything. If you say, oh, is that your girlfriend? Is that your boyfriend? Just say partner, right? Or date, significant other, or babe, whatever, date friend. There's so many things out there. You just don't know someone's one, relationship status, and two, when gender gets in there, it can be a little awkward. Saying like here, boys and girls, guys and ladies, y'all, folks, hey everyone, look at all the guests here tonight. Look at all these people. They're looking so happy. And then girl, boy, or man and woman, just say person or human. It's hard. So it says here, break the binary. The binary refers to the social construct of man and woman, feminine, masculine, this binary of how we were taught to categorize people and box them into different ways. And it might have been helpful before, but really it's just a narrow mindset. It's a narrow way of thinking. And so we try to break the binary and thinking outside the box and just not making assumptions about people. Does anyone have any questions on the alternatives to gendered language?
There's one in the chat. There's one in the chat box that just says, is defaulting to they, them when you don't know inappropriate. So, if you don't.
I think that's a great question, Brandon. So I never assume someone's pronouns until I ask the person directly or they tell me. Before that, I just say they. And can anyone in real estate, whether you know it or not, we actually use a lot of gender neutral terms on a daily basis. Can anyone think of some words that we might say that have no gender associated with them in real estate?
Buyer and seller.
Buyer, seller. Okay, we got some more. Anything else?
Investor.
Investor.
Appraiser.
Appraiser. Here we go.
Right.
Any others?
Client.
There we go. So I have a list here. So we got so many: realtor, agent, buyer, seller, broker, client, tenant, renter, owner, property manager, appraiser. How could I have forgotten that one in this market? So these are words that we use literally on a daily basis in our field that you don't know the gender of the person. It doesn't have anything with woman, or man associated with them. We just they don't reflect the gender. So even if you aren't trying to use gender alternatives, you already are. So this is cool. Sticking to gender neutral stuff until you know how someone identifies and what their pronouns are is the best way to go. You really just don't want to make any assumptions, especially when meeting new clients, people. You don't want to, just say something off-putting or offend your client on the first impression. Yeah, so I would love to go over a little bit of a pronoun role play, if you will. So Jen, Alan, if I could call on you to ask for someone's pronouns and what that looks like. I just want to reiterate that it is not offensive to ask someone for their pronouns. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's a sign of respect. It's a sign of someone's really loud. It's a sign of respect, and it's a sign of empathy that you show awareness and understanding about this topic, and that you're open to meeting whoever. So Jen, I'll hand it over to you to practice how to ask for someone's pronouns.
Cool. So should I just pick somebody, or does anyone want to volunteer? No hands. All right, Brandon, I was going to pick you anyway. So let's say we're just meeting. So I'd come up to you and I'd be like, hey, my name's Jen. So nice to meet you. My pronouns are she, her. And what are yours?
Yeah, mine are he, him. Nice to meet
Great.
you.
And sorry, I didn't catch your name. What was that?
It's Brandon.
Nice to meet you, Brandon.
Nice to meet you.
Simple as that.
Wonderful. That was so great. Thank you, both of you. And it does seem direct at first. And maybe the first few times you might feel a little hesitant or awkward even, but I think that the person on the receiving end, even if they've never been asked their pronouns before, or they have no idea what you're talking about, at least you did your part and you brought up the question. Let's now switch over to asking for someone's pronouns, but making a mistake and how to correct yourself. So Leah, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can demonstrate how to make a mistake with someone's pronouns. Also, I can't tell who is not muted.
I keep muting, but
Mary Briggs.
I'm
Yeah,
unmuted.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, yes. Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
but please mute yourself.
Okay. Got it. Okay, Leah, handing it over to you. Again, if you didn't hear that, Leah's going to demonstrate making a mistake with asking for someone's pronouns. Go ahead, Leah. It's all you.
So I'm going to partner up with Monica because Monica's an agent, if I could, Monica, and I'm an admin. So just referring to somebody else in the third person, we're just going to refer to a client on a transaction. So Monica, I just called our buyer the other day. She should be submitting her deposit pretty soon. I believe she said she was going to submit it by check. So we should be good with that.
The buyer?
Yeah, the buyer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who is the buyer in this role play?
The buyer is Taylor Smith.
Taylor Smith. Okay, gotcha. I'm not sure if is Taylor, is he going to be present for the home inspection?
I don't know if Taylor's going to be present for the home inspection. I believe she said she was going to be there.
Oh, she. Okay, that's my fault. On the pronouns there. Thank you so much for letting me know and correcting me simply as that. So the best thing to do is, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, it's so hard to hear. Is there someone that is not muted?
It's Mary. Mary keeps going in and out of muting.
No, it keep going in and out on me. It keeps muting on its own. Every time
No,
I
I'm
unmute it,
Mary, I'm muting you when it comes undone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could just mute for yourself and then just leave it unless you wanted to talk on the call.
No, I'll mute it. Okay.
Okay, are you muted yet? Okay, good. All right, cool. So thank you, Mary, for muting, just trying to get this role play through. That was a little hard for me to hear, honestly. I think we should do it again, Leah. If you want to try something new or whatever, I'm happy to join in on the role play.
Okay, perfect. If you, Monica, could correct me on the pronouns.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so starting again. You know, Monica, our buyer, Taylor Smith, is going to be submitting her deposit soon, since we just went under contract. Yeah, so she called me and she told me she'll be submitting it by check.
Oh, got it. Okay. Taylor, yes, I believe you are right about them. Their pronouns are they, them, just so you know.
Oh.
So they will definitely be there submitting the check.
Okay, yep, I will follow up with them. Thank you.
Wonderful. So it's just a quick little call out there that happened pretty fast. It's something we mess up people's pronouns all the time. And I will say that because my pronouns are they, them, it happens to me all the time, especially like in real estate. So I will just say that if you do happen to get someone's pronouns wrong, don't stress, don't panic. It's okay. We all mess up. I mess up people's pronouns sometimes. You know, sometimes it takes some practice and you don't always know, right? The important part is to just quickly correct yourself, make acknowledgement. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to do anything over the top. Like this one time someone misgendered me and I got a whole long voicemail the next day and they were so sorry. And they weren't thinking and they felt really bad about it. And they left me this long message. And while the intention was good and it was nice, you know, to receive that apology, the impact was that it's then kind of made the discussion, I felt guilty. It was like guilt, you know, and then I felt like I had to comfort and call back the person and say, oh, don't worry about it, you know. So if you happen to make a mistake on someone's pronouns, just quickly correct yourself, note it for the future, try to do better next time. And I usually just say, thank you for bringing that to my attention, noted, and then continue using their correct pronouns. So it is not a big deal, just trying to be as inclusive as possible to all folks that we meet in our realms in real estate. I know they, them pronouns are a little bit hard to understand when referring to someone in third person. Maybe it's the first time you're hearing about this, but I'd love to hand it back over to Leah, who has a little anecdote for you. So if you could all just listen to Leah and this little story, just so you can kind of get an idea of where we're going with this.
So during our DE&I meeting yesterday, when we were going over this class, I shared this story and we all thought it would be a really great tool for everyone. And just to see, you know, what everybody takes away from it. So has anybody, you know, been to the Walnut Street office? Does anybody go there frequently? The KW Philadelphia one in Rittenhouse Square? I don't know if I'm the only one. Yeah. All the way out in Denver, Colorado. Do you? So basically, if you go there, there is this amazing Starbucks across the street on the corner. And, you know, ever since I started working from home, I use that Starbucks as like a little reward system to reward me, you know, for going in. So last week, doing my usual, walk in a Starbucks, first thing I see, wallet flat on the ground. I look around, not a single person in sight. So I asked the cashier, is, you know, anybody even around? Is someone in the bathroom? And they said, no, they hadn't seen anybody. And, you know, there was a rush about like 15 minutes ago, but, you know, nobody's been in since. So, you know, not very helpful. So I picked up the wallet, took it upon myself to be the hero of the story. And I walked over to the cashier and we went through the wallet, found the owner's ID, and we found their name and their address. And believe it or not, they lived a few blocks right on the other side of Rittenhouse Square in one of the high-rise buildings. So I like rush over there, you know, because if you lost your wallet, wouldn't you want someone to do the same thing? So I run over there, I run down a couple blocks, I meet them in the lobby. And they were so, so grateful that I had returned their wallet that they offered to pay me money, like tried to hand me the money, all their cash out of their wallet. And obviously I didn't take it because I want the same thing done for me. And the moral of that story is that if you can understand every single word that I just said, then you can understand they, them pronouns. I used they, them pronouns multiple times throughout that story in multiple sentences and referred to not only one, but two people in that story by they, them pronouns. So, there's this idea that we are not actually using this in our language already, but it has already been here and we use it every single day. So, I can type that out for anybody who doesn't believe that I said they, them like 20 times. So that's it.
That's a great anecdote. I'm really glad you shared that. And just to kind of piggyback off that, in real estate, we do it all the time with clients. Sometimes we'll just have one client, but we always use they for them, especially when I don't know like how this gets like in like black label and luxury real estate, but I feel like a lot of things are masked. When someone doesn't want to reveal their client's gender, they just stick with they. Oh, is your client, blah, 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 coming to the home inspection? Yes, they will be there. We don't know if that's, one person, two people. We don't know their gender. We don't make assumptions. So just want to put it out there. So any questions? Does anyone have anything in the chat? I know, I think Brandon put a question in here. What's the best way to deal with someone who is confrontational when using my pronouns and asking for their pronouns? Brandon, could you reiterate what you mean by confrontational?
Yeah, so I think what I've experienced is people being offended that I'm being too PC. That whole idea. Like I know the role playing that we've done is very friendly and accepting and like open-minded to that. So what would be the best way to deal with somebody? And this may happen more out where I'm at, out in the Wild West than you do in the big city. But just wondering if you have any tips or tricks to, I don't know, a way to respond to somebody that may be thinking you're being too PC.
Yeah, Gavin, do you have anything to add?
I don't know how that's a great question, Brandon. I don't know how I would handle that unless it was happening in the moment. I personally have never had anyone be aggressive when I ask for their pronouns, but I have people get aggressive when they don't understand how I identify, because I really don't have any one particular pronoun that makes my heart sing more than any other, except for when I'm in drag and people feel the need to, they need to put you in a box or they need to be able to rationalize in their head who you are, how you're presenting, how you identify. And so when I say any and all, people usually get like, no, but really, what pronoun do you use? And I'm like, you can call me any pronoun you want as long as it comes from a place of love and respect. So I think just, the whole point of this presentation is pronouns are more prevalent and more important to the younger generation. And as we can see from the slides in the presentation thus far, that millennials are becoming fast the biggest market for buying and selling real estate. And so we have to accommodate and pivot and change to be able to accommodate for that language and those requests and those how people identify to be inclusive, right? And so it's super important to, as an agent, to evolve and be with the times, right? And so while people sometimes get aggressive with me, I don't find it to be, I don't find other people to get aggressive when I ask their pronouns. So I haven't had that situation, and maybe it's just the clientele that I typically draw are mostly queer folks. So, and I feel like that's a whole different subset of folks that use pronouns a lot, and it's important to them.
Yeah, I think that's great, Kevin. I don't think there's really anything you can do when someone's confrontational, but I will say within the past year or so that pronouns have become very politicized. And I'm just here to reiterate that pronouns are not political. Pronouns are a part of speech. And we learned this, or I hope everyone learned this in elementary school and middle school when you went through English classes. But it is a part of speech and it is necessary because you need to refer to people in the third person. So this is specifically about you and your clients. And if you're talking to a vendor, like a home inspector, an appraiser, someone, and you need to talk about your client, you want to make sure you're honoring them and respecting their pronouns and their wishes and how they want to be referred to. I think that most clients who I personally interact with are aware of pronouns. I've come across a few where, they were like, oh, pronouns? Like, what are those? And it's just a moment to just say like, oh, that's just how I want to refer to you. Do you prefer she, her, he, him, or they, them? And then like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And so sometimes it's just not on folks' radar. So if people do become aggressive, one, that makes me sad because it's not a political thing. And two, we're here to just be as inclusive and as respectful to everyone, however that looks like. Any other questions?
I just have a comment, like, so I think one of the easiest ways to navigate this for me is to introduce myself first and set up the tone. So I introduce myself and give my any and all, as long as they come from a place of love and respect, or however it comes out that day. And then I feel like it frees up the other party to do the same. So there isn't typically an awkward interaction around pronouns, because sometimes what I find is if you don't ask or you don't initiate that conversation and you misgender someone, that's when it gets really awkward.
Yeah, definitely awkward. And like, I can give you an example of something. Like, I was going to get a gift card at a business, and the person at the cash register did not know how to ring up the gift card, like didn't know what to punch in on the computer. And so they were like calling to their colleague. They're like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Can you come over up here so you can ring up this gift card for this? And they like turn around and look at me for this, for this. And they were like, is it man, woman? Like, and so it was like, for this woman. And I was just like, oh my God, just say person. And so it was just this moment of confusion on this poor person's face. And I'm just like, you don't have to, have the gender, just have a neutral term, a person. But it was just so funny and awkward. And, obviously there was no bad intention there. It wasn't meant to, harm me or anything, but still just an example of how it's so interwoven in our daily lives and communication that, we're always seeking to improve ourselves in real estate, right? As better humans, better communicators. We're here to build relationships in this business. And this is just one way you can really go a long way to help making someone feel good and showing up as their true selves. Any other questions? Yeah, Gavin.
And also, a pronoun is just a word to use in place of a proper name. So if you're uncomfortable using pronouns, just use the person's name. Yeah. It's that simple. And some people just get really hung up on it, get really stuck on it, or they make a huge deal out of it if they screw up instead of just correcting themselves and moving on. And then it just makes the whole situation awkward. And so takeaways from this: if you don't want to use pronouns, use their name. If you mess up, correct yourself immediately and move on. Don't even apologize. Just correct the pronoun and carry on the conversation. It will go so much smoother, and the other person will really appreciate it.
Yeah. I think those are great takeaways for the class. Any other questions? Anything that wasn't covered, curious about? Please know that this is a safe space. This Zoom call, even though it's recorded, it will not be shared. So this is a no judgment zone. We want you to come to us with your questions, even if it's not now and you come, think of something later. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the DE&I task force. We're happy to help you, go over things and just help, listen sometimes.
I just wanted to comment and just say that I appreciate this conversation so much, because I come from a background, my parents are Greek, they're immigrants, right? So pronouns in Greek language play like a really intricate and important role in formality and informality. So if you're talking to an elderly person, you always use plural. You would always say they, them. And it has nothing to do about what their gender is or what their identity is. It's just a nice way of showing respect, right? So if you don't know someone in Greek or even in Spanish, when I was learning Spanish, it was the same with the usted and the ustedes form. You showed respect and formality when you didn't know someone, and you kept your distance, and I just appreciate, because I have a daughter and she's in school and they're very pronoun conscious. This younger generation, I didn't grow up like that. We didn't grow up like this, so I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm like, this is fascinating. It's almost like a little like revolution in the American use of the English language, that we're becoming conscious of pronouns, and in other languages, it's always been there. So, I appreciate this conversation for that reason.
Yeah, that's so important, Daphne. I'm so glad you said that. It's just interesting, where we are. We have so much unlearning to do, things that we were taught, and now the world is changing. And that's the thing with language. That's the thing. It's always evolving. It's who knows where things will be in a few years. And that's why we continue to update this presentation and make it accessible. But I get you on the language thing with Greek and with Spanish. I'm actually an adjunct French professor at UPenn. And on day one of class every semester, I always have to be like, hey, so, French has the gender binary, masculine and feminine, and here are the pronouns. But guess what? I'm non-binary and my pronouns are they, them. And here's how you can refer to me in French. And I will tell you, Gen Z, these students are 18 years old, 19 years old, fresh out of high school. They already know. I don't have to explain myself. They just know. And so this is our next generation of home buyers, of home sellers, and they are so with it and woke, they just know. And I think it's just, I think the statistic is that like a lot of real estate agents are in like the boomer generation, from what I understand. And I find that, the older you get, the more you have to work at unlearning and figuring out what the next generation is doing and learning. And so, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting.
I have a question. I have a question for Brandon. So when you've had experiences where people have pushed back or given aggression, have they been younger than you or older than you?
I can't think of a specific situation where it's happened recently. I would say, so I've never had like a huge scary situation. I was just wanted to know if you had any tools to prepare for that. Something that did happen is that when I first introduced using pronouns in my market center team meeting, I definitely got a lot of like judgment stares. So not necessarily confrontation, but judgment stares of all ages.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that is across the board, no matter where you go. And what Monica had just said, that the average age of the real estate agents and brokers is the boomers, not the Gen X, Gen Z, millennials. And so that is, slowly shifting, and there's going to be a tipping point where there's more Gen X and millennials and, in these positions. And as Monica said, the younger generation, they know, and it's almost an expectation that it will be that way, and that it's not an option anymore. And it's not it used to be really heavy in the queer community, and that was the only place I ever really saw it. And it's just not like that anymore. It's across the board. It's across the board at schools. You know, most younger kids know to ask for pronouns or what pronouns they want to use, and it's a pretty interesting thing to watch unfold that I didn't think in my life would be even like a blip on the screen, right?
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely exciting to hear that that's the direction we're heading.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we, you know, as realtors, when we work with clients, all of our clients, they just want to work with folks who understand them, who understand they don't have to explain themselves, you know, that they feel seen and heard, because it is most likely the largest financial transaction in their life. So it's pretty important. And they want to make sure that they're giving their business to people, to realtors that are in the know, that, you know, are able to communicate and able to make them feel seen and heard. So I just wanted to, again, say, if you come up with any questions later, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Gavin, or Leah. We're on the KWDE&I task force, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, if there's some, whether it's now, later in the future, we're here for you. And we just want to, you know, reiterate that we're always a safe space to talk about any of issues. And it's not just about pronouns, not just about sexual orientation. It could be about race, culture, background, you name it. You know, that's what we do at DE&I. Just wanted to do a quick shout out that next week, September 15th, is the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. So our office, so Tomei, be on the lookout for some graphics that we'll be sending your way. We're going to be each week of the whole month, we're going to shout out local businesses that are Latinx owned or operated, books, educational opportunities, culture, things like that, all over in the Philly area. So hopefully you can go out and support some businesses over the next month. So that starts next week. And thank you all so much for being here, for showing up. I mean, it already shows that you're dedicated to yourself as an agent, but your clients, and you're making the right call. So thank you all so much. Gavin.
I want to say something before we go. So I posted this on my Facebook last night saying that we were having this today. And someone who I know peripherally through the performance world put a comment on on the thing, and it says, "The real estate agent I recently kind of mocked me for even trying to look around." And so I messaged them and I said, "I'm sorry, you know, that happened." And then we took it offline and we're talking, because they're like, "I want to buy something, but I don't want to work with an agent that is not going to respect my name and my pronouns."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's a perfect example of like why this is important, because a lot of clients that I work with, it is a big deal to them. And they are willing to give their business to someone who will listen to them and respect how they identify, what their name is, what their pronouns are. And they don't, you know, if they want someone that's not just going to keep screwing it up.
Totally. Brandon, I see your hand raised.
I just wanted to mention something real quick that I was made aware of maybe a week or two ago, and I can send the information to Gavin to send out to everybody. Keller Williams has a group called the Coalition of Hispanics for Progressive Action. So I think it's similar to the Rainbow Network or KW Brown, BR Network. So I believe it's newer, and it's not, I wasn't aware of it, but it would just be something to share next week as you're pushing out your stuff about Hispanic heritage.
That's great, Brenda. Yeah, please send that info over to Gavin so we can get it out in our market center, and especially in time for next week. Sean left. Cool. Well, thank you all again so much. It was great. I hope you all found it helpful, informative, and please reach out with any questions if you want to join us for DE&I. We're a pretty passionate group, and this is important work. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
No problem, y'all. Have a great rest of your day.